Hi guys, welcome back. It's Emmy from the Cookie Nook. We have so many fun things here with our kit today. So let's get started on like materials we need because there's a lot going on. And there's a couple other things that you'll want that aren't in the kit. So you've got your 4 icing colors, your cookies, which, wow, massive, right? Huge. We've got our royal icing flowers. We've got our cup of moss, our paintbrush, a little bit of black food coloring, and then your toothpick. And then things that you're going to want that aren't in the kit are scissors and just a butter knife, and you might want a plate, just like a small flat plate. Okay, and that's because we're gonna end up dumping the moss out onto the plate. And then anything else, any snacks you need. I have my coffee because it's 5 in the morning. All right. So you might want to pause and go ahead and grab everything you need. And then when you come back, we're gonna start with the usual, just massaging our bags to get our colors, our icing mixed back together if they've separated. So I'm gonna do that while you guys are gathering everything. See, I've got some airbrush stuck in my hands there. I had a little airbrush explosion yesterday. I dropped it while it was on and it was just spraying everywhere. All right, just getting these back together. You might, did I get some airbrush on my cookies? No, mine looked fine. Just a little added coloring to the cookies. So our moss, this cup of moss I made by I baked up some cookies and then I blended them in the food processor until they were really fine. And then I added some avocado green food coloring and mixed it all together and then put it out on a baking sheet and then baked it just to make sure that they were really dry from the food coloring. So baked it at like 250 for about 15 minutes. So I like that because it's not changing the flavor of our cookies, right? Like where if I was using graham cracker crumbs or something, we'd be getting a whole new flavor. So this is really just sugar cookie crumbles that I colored green. And that's gonna give us the moss effect. All right, so once our bags are all mixed back together, we're going to cut small tips in our bags. So remember to start small. Make sure it's nice and flat so you get a good cut. And then make sure to get rid of the little plastic tip that you're cutting off so that you don't end up eating it later. That'd be nasty. All right, so I have all my tips cut and we are ready to get started. All right, we're gonna start with this large egg. And you know what? I'm just gonna take a second to plan out what flowers I wanna use on what cookies so that, I think I'm gonna go, so that I don't end up with all the same colors on one cookie. I'm gonna go there for my rabbit. No, I'm gonna use these on my eggs. Okay, so, all right, just so I know that that's how I'm gonna use my flowers, okay? All right, so for the egg, make sure I always get this in so you can see it. We're gonna start with our kind of robin's egg blue here, a bluish green color. And we're just going to outline the egg part. We're gonna leave that little floral edge over there blank. You could ice it with blue if you wanted. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna end up going over it anyways. So it'd just kind of be a waste of icing. That's where our florals are gonna be. So it doesn't matter that it's not a complete oval, perfect oval over there, that's okay. So I'm gonna outline my eggs. You can outline all of your eggs, okay? And then while I have the hole cut small in my blue, I'm gonna also do my bow. So I'm gonna get out the egg basket, and you'll see up top here, this is for the bow, okay? Now, you might want to kind of just, sometimes I will poke holes just so I see where I want my icing to go. It's probably not showing up on the camera, but I do have a little pattern there. So I have a line to follow. So you'll see it once I outline it. My icing here. See, so there's one part of the bow. So there's your outline for your bow. So you're gonna outline your eggs, move that out, and you're gonna outline your bows. So as you see, I only have one of each cookie to do. You have 3 of each cookie. So go ahead and pause the video while you do that, and then pick back up when you're ready, okay? So now I'm going to go, I was thinking about cutting my hole bigger here. I'm gonna try it without, but this is a large space to flood, so I don't wanna take too long flooding it. So I am going to cut my hole a little bigger because I see that that's gonna take a long time. And then by the time I got the center of my egg filled, the outsides would have started to crust, and then I'm not gonna get it smooth. Going back and filling in any spots that I left without icing before I shake it out. Now this is a large cookie, so you want to be a little careful while shaking it because you don't want to break it. But if you ever do break your cookie, the icing can be used to just glue it back together. And just kind of poke down any peaks or any air bubbles. Okay, so you're gonna fill in all of your eggs. We're doing our eggs first because we want them to have plenty of time to crust over before we add the black food coloring on for a little like splatter paint effect. Okay, so I'm moving my egg to the side now. You're gonna do that to all 3 of your eggs. And then we move them to the side to let them crust over. And now we're gonna fill in the large part of our bows on our egg basket. Can you hear the birds chirping in the background? You can certainly tell it's a spring morning. All right, so just filling in the large part of our bows. Okay, and then we're gonna let those sit. And I'm gonna move our egg baskets to the side, and we're gonna bring in the bunnies. So, the bunnies, these are so super fun. We're gonna need, make sure you can see this. You're gonna want your plates and your knives. Just gonna dump the moss out. Okay, and we're gonna take our green and we're just going to see, we're not trying to flood it. We're just gonna squirt some on there. And then with the knife, I'm just gonna spread it. So don't worry about covering the bottom part because we're gonna have our florals down there. All right, so you're gonna spread it. It doesn't have to be smooth. You can certainly go back and add some more green. So just covering the bunny part. And then when you think you've got the bunny covered well, you're gonna take it and dip it into the moss. And then I'm gonna just sprinkle some moss on the edges. Okay, so that is the moss part of our bunny. I'm gonna now clean up those edges, toothpick. Okay, we're gonna put that to the side now. So you're gonna do that for all 3 bunnies. And then when you've done that to all 3 bunnies, we can bring our basket back. And we're gonna add the bottom part. So up here in our basket, this is gonna be eggs and some greenery. So down here, where the rectangle is, we're gonna outline in brown. So your top edge here, it doesn't have to be perfect. So you outline and flood. And then shake it out. Now you're going to be extra careful shaking it out because you have the blue ribbon that's already started to crust. Poke down any peaks. So I think that the biggest mistakes that are made when decorating cookies is, and they're easy ones to make, cutting the hole too big in your bag and not putting enough icing to cover the whole section. So once you master those 2 parts, you're good. So you're gonna do the brown to all 3 bags, and then you're gonna go back and do the outside of your ribbon. So before I started, I weighed my icing so that I would know how much it takes to decorate the cookies. And then I multiply it times 3 because you're doing 3 of each cookie. So that's how I figure out how much icing to give you guys. And then I give you some extra for mistakes if you have to wipe something off and start again. And because some of you might be a heavier icer than I, some of you might be lighter, so you might end up with extra. All right, so now we're gonna push that to the side and we're gonna bring back in the bunnies. So here we're just gonna start with adding some greenery around the edges. So you kind of just squeeze for a while to make a dollop and then pull. This is called pressure piping. Squeeze and pull. So we're just gonna get some on before we put the flowers on. All right, now I'm going to put my flowers on. So just add a little icing to the back. And then I'm going to even add, just to add a little more color into it, because the greenery blends a little bit with the moss. So I'm gonna add some blue in there as well. So just with the same technique, filling in some spaces. So squeeze and pull. And then with my white, I'm just gonna add centers to the flowers. Mix my white a little better. Just kind of, now that I had cut it and I realized that I didn't mix it good enough, I'm holding the tip of it so that it doesn't all come flying out the top. Okay, so there's my moss bunny. So you're gonna do that to all three. That one is like super simple, easy but cute. All right, so I'm gonna move the bunny to the side. And I'm gonna bring back in the basket. So yours has had more time to crust over than mine because you have 3 of each to do. So yours is gonna be a little more firm, which is a good thing. And we're gonna go back and we're just gonna add some lines. So this would be a key part where if you had cut your tip too big, the lines are gonna just end up looking a little sloppy. I would just skip the lines if you ended up cutting your tip too big. Or another option would be put the whole icing bag into a Ziploc and get it down to the corner and then recut a new tip. Okay, so now that we have our crisscross lines, I'm gonna add our eggs. So I'm gonna do 3 large eggs, starting in the middle with 1. So we have to let this egg crust over before we can add the other ones, or else they're just gonna blend into one big white blob. Okay, so while we're waiting, we're going to go back to our bow. We're gonna add a top loop. And then you kind of outline here. Might want to watch me do this before you do it. Okay, so you see, we're gonna leave this top loop empty. And we're gonna fill in the bottom section we've just created. So now our bow has a little more dimension. And super carefully, I'm going to shake that out a little. All right, so we have to let our center egg and that part of the bow crust over now before we go back and add the other 2 sides of the egg and a dot in the middle for our bow. So while that is happening, we are gonna bring back in our egg, or large egg. This should have had plenty of time to crust over. Oh, I think I did forget to mention, you're gonna want a little bit of water. So you could just like get a cup of water with a little teaspoon. You probably won't even use a full teaspoon, like a eighth of a teaspoon. Or if you have a medicine syringe, you can add water that way. We're gonna be watering down our black food coloring. Okay, so I'm gonna water mine down with the spray bottle. There we go. See, I just wanted to test it on the side here. So you're gonna dip your paintbrush and then we're just gonna splatter it. Now, other than water, what are your other options? You could use vodka, any kind of clear alcohol. That's up to you. The alcohol will evaporate so that you're not actually tasting or eating the alcohol. And the advantage of using alcohol is that it's going to dry quicker. Water is obviously going to take a lot longer to dry, and it will kind of sink into your icing more. So you can use water, or you can use, if you have any kind of clear extract around, because extracts are made with clear alcohol, or any kind of clear alcohol you have, food grade, obviously. So you've done your splatter, and now we're gonna go and add some greenery. So we're doing it off the blue part, but we're going to do some on the blue part as well. And then once we get our flowers on, we can go back and see where you might need more. So again, just put a little bit of icing on the back. And then you can add a center to your flowers. Okay, so then your egg is done. All right. So actually, I mean, if you think you see anywhere that you want some more greenery, just be careful. You don't want to crack your icing. And you want to avoid your black paint that you've added so that it doesn't turn your green black. Okay, so there's our egg. So we're done with our bunnies, we're done with our eggs, and we just have our baskets to finish. So we're going to start with our blue. Just going to add a dot in the center of our bow. Now my eggs probably haven't crusted over much because I didn't have a ton of time in between, but yours will have. So you're gonna have more definition than me. So I'm just gonna add some eggs on the side. So do that to all 3 baskets. And then once that's crusted over, we're gonna add the greenery. So I'm gonna, since mine has not crusted, I'm going to try not to get too close to the white. My eggs wants to droop over there. Okay. I'm gonna add some greenery on top as well. All right, so there's our egg basket. So we have our egg basket, our egg, and let's see, can you see them all? And our moss bunny. And there you have it. All right, I hope you enjoyed these on Easter. Maybe you made them with family, with friends. Maybe you're putting them out at your Easter table and you're gonna wow everyone. Send me pictures and let me know how you did. All right, bye guys, happy Easter.